Hey students, welcome to week 4. We have a couple of things to talk about. This will be a short video though. The first thing that comes up in this week is the vaccinations discussion. And if any of you live in Minnesota, this is a really hot topic right now because of a recent measles outbreak. So I would like to just tell you first off, I'm not anti-vaccination, right? Science has proved that they're very, very effective. And that's why we don't see lots of measles around. We don't see polio anymore. But my job as an instructor is to challenge you to think a little bit more critically about your sources, about information, and that's what I want to do with these questions. So even though all of you have posted already with your responses, I want you to think a little bit more critically about, first, the information you're finding. So who's funding the research you're citing? You may be looking at a very reliable source, right? We consider the CDC a reliable source because they use clinical studies, they use valid information to back up what they're saying. But think about who's funding that. Who's funding the information that creates those clinical studies? We don't always have access to that information. Is it the government itself? Is it an independent researcher? Is it the pharmaceutical company? Right? Each one of those is going to have a slightly different bias. The second question here, how are vaccines, and really any drug, proven safe? And there's many different criteria that go into this. So what does safe mean? What does safe mean to each person or each patient? And how do we determine what that safety level should be, right? So what's safe enough? And then secondarily, fast tracking comes along with that safety point. If you haven't already heard of fast tracking, or if you didn't come across this in your research, I'll give you kind of a quick rundown. Let's say that pharmaceutical company A wants to make a drug. They develop it, they start putting it through clinical studies, which they are required to do. If they see that it takes, that it's making a really big impact, what they can do is apply for fast tracking. So normally they would have to take their studies and then spread that out over 20 years, track how those patients are doing, and make sure that everything they're doing is safe and that it's actually proven effective. But if it is approved for fast tracking, now that pharmaceutical company doesn't have to do those tests anymore. So they've proven maybe a few months worth of valid information. And then at that point, they get fast-tracked, the drug then goes to the public, it's in the market, and they don't always follow through on those long-term studies. So what does that say about the safety of our population? It's kind of up to us to decide as consumers. And then CDC's vaccination schedule. A lot of times you'll hear parents, especially who are in their 30s, 40s, their argument might be, well, I got vaccinated, nothing happened to me. And that's valid, right? So personal experience. But I want you, if you are using that argument, or if you have heard that argument before, I want you to think about what that vaccination schedule looked like when those parents were children versus when these children, right, our current generation, is being vaccinated. The difference between the 1980s-ish, so mid-1980s to now, is extremely, it's extremely more dense now. So the doses that the 1980s generation would have been receiving was somewhere around 10 doses total throughout their first 6 years of life. And we're seeing that creep up around 40 and over 40 in the first 6 years of life now. So think about that. So those of you who are thinking, well, maybe there's side effects to a vaccine. Sure, there could be. There are, right? We know that. That's even provided on the CDC's website. Does it cause autism? Nope. Science says no, it doesn't. But does autism have correlations with some of the ingredients in a vaccine? Yes. Science says yes. So how much of that matters and how much of that is swayed when you're talking about if you should or shouldn't vaccinate, right? There's just so many questions around this. And I want you to think about all of those questions when you're coming up with your reply this week. So if you have a very strong stance, that's great, you should. I want you to have lots of research to back up how you feel on this, but at the same time I want you to be cautiously skeptical and really, really critically think about who is determining what information you're reading. And I think we should do that for any source and any topic. All right, that's my little soapbox for you. Case study this week, I already went over this in last week's video, but I just wanted to reiterate, don't try to fill in the boxes for part 3, number 2. Just bring that up here quick. Here we go. So you can't fill in these boxes, you can't click in the boxes, but what you can do is just list your answers as 1, increase, 2, decrease, and don't take those as the right answers because I'm not even looking at the questions. But check that out and make sure that you are doing that correctly. Always use citations. If you're not sure about APA format yet, we're already in week 4 and this is your second term at Rasmussen probably. So get it figured out. And then last note for today, if you need help, consider tutoring because we have really, really, really good tutors. It's not just your classmate who is across the country sitting there waiting for you to ask questions. These are highly trained tutors. They know what's going on. They know how APA format works, so you could always ask them about things like that. And they've taken the course, right? So they know this information, they've passed it, and they know what to expect on things like quizzes and exams. So check that out if you have a chance. Just pause this screen and jot down any of these website links, and I think that will help you feel more confident going forward. All right, that's all I have for you, and if you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm always available by email, and you can call my office line if you need to. I'll probably just have to call you back though. Okay, have a good one. Bye.